That phrase that came up earlier that I think is extremely important, the anthropogenic idea that it's human caused. And of course, we see that applied to anthropogenic global warming, which was baked into the cake at the very foundation of the UNFCCC, the United Nations Framework on Climate Change Convention on Climate Change, which from its definition of climate change said that climate change is the anthropogenic contribution to natural climate variation. So they were literally defining it as the man-made part and thus completely excluding any sort of study of natural variation. Well, what do we need to do that? And that was the basis upon which the IPCC was operating, at least in its early years. So that's such an incredibly important point, because I don't think that emphasis on the anthropogenic principle when it comes to global warming or when it comes to health is by accident. I think it is part of exactly that agenda that you're identifying there, Meryl Nass. And we do not have to take your word for it or my word for it. We can read the writings of people like Alexander King, who, of course, people may or may not know, one of the co-founders of the Club of Rome, who co-wrote the first global revolution back in 1991. And in chapter 5 of that book, official Club of Rome document here, they have the section on the common enemy of humanity is man, where they wrote, in searching for a common enemy against whom we can unite, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. In their totality and their interactions, these phenomena do constitute a common threat, which must be confronted by everyone together. Well, that sounds reasonable. But in designating these dangers as the enemy, we fall into the trap, which we have already warned readers about, namely mistaking symptoms for causes. All these dangers are caused by human intervention in natural processes, and it is only through changed attitudes and behavior that they can be overcome. The real enemy, then, is humanity itself, period. And then they start on chapter 6, where they talk about the shock waves produced by the drastic changes and upheavals that are coming, like a great reset. Yes, this is part of an agenda, and it is based on an ideology which at its base is trying to fundamentally erode or completely eviscerate the idea of bodily autonomy, of health freedom, and ultimately of individual sovereignty. And that is the nature of the enemy that we're facing, I think. And that's the ideology that I think we have to be confronting full-throatedly, 100%, full on in its face, because I don't think that these terms or ideas just came out of nowhere or spontaneously arose. They are being put in there to try to send us down the wrong ideological road.